seminars and panel discussions where we get to hear from our industry leaders on how we can reimagine growth at this global investors meet. In addition to this, we also have our cultural extravaganza night from 6 p.m. onwards, where you get to witness Ayana Dance Company in action, along with Vivida, a Dr. Prakash Samtage ensemble, and a 3D visual projection on the Bangalore Palace, culminating in the Invest Karnataka 2025 awards. Lots to look forward to, so without any further ado, let's dive into the first session that we have for you today. Now, our first session is a panel discussion talking about chips on the table, India's turn to lead the semiconductor revolution. Allow me this opportunity to welcome on stage our panelists for this discussion. With a round of applause, please join me in welcoming our first panelist. We have with us Mr. Hitesh Garg, Vice President and India Managing Director, NXP Semiconductors. Thank you for joining us. Accompanying Mr. Garg, we have Mr. Jitendra Chandra, MD and India Country Head and VP of Global Fab Engineering Services. Thank you, Mr. Chandra, for joining us out here today. Our next panelist, please join me in welcoming Mr. Santosh Kumar, President and Managing Director, Texas Instruments, India. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for joining us today. And moderating this panel discussion, we have with us Mr. Rakesh Raghavan, Corporate Vice President and General Manager, Lab Research, India. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Raghavan. Thank you, dignitaries, for taking the time of joining us out here and for putting forth your thoughts and your perspectives on how we can expand India to lead the semiconductors. Mr. Raghavan, I leave the floor to you. Letting you take the lead on this panel discussion.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Mudita. Thank you for the introductions. This is, I guess, the start of a couple of days of exciting discussions. We are the first panel up here, so hopefully we'll whet your appetite for what's more to come later. So I have with me a very distinguished panel today. We have Santosh from Texas Instruments. For those of you who may or may not be aware, Texas Instruments was one of the very first, if not the first, chip MNC company to be in India. Started in 1984, long and proud history in India, and have come a long ways and have established the industry in India in many ways for 5 years. So welcome, Santosh, for having your perspective be very, very valuable to folks here. We have JC. Nobody calls him Jitendra, as far as I know. He goes by JC. JC is a long-time industry veteran. Again, pioneers, had a previous role at Intel, where he helped establish Intel as one of the leading players and leaders of the industry in India, and has grown substantially, and now leading the charge with global foundries, and I think rapid growth at global foundries as well. So having your perspective will be very helpful. We have Hitesh Garg, leader of NXP in India, and doing very exciting things in the fields of the applications of semiconductors in the automotive sector and other allied sectors. And some very, in our conversations he shared with me, I had the privilege of riding with him to this event today. So we spent an hour and a half in the car. So I got to pick his brains on a lot of things. Very nice, and hopefully we'll be able to share something. High level in the So first thing I want to say is the opportunity for the semiconductor industry is very clear to us on this panel, maybe to many of you. We have, $550 billion industry today, and most analysts, give or take a couple of years, have a window of within the next decade for sure. This industry will be a $1 trillion industry, so we have a rapid growth opportunity in front of us. In that context, there is a large opportunity for India as well. The electronics market in India is projected to be, $200 billion today, about 6% of our GDP. And some data from the VLSI organization as well as IESA suggests that by 2047 we could aspire to have a $3 trillion electronics market in India, which would be 10% of our GDP. And of that $3 trillion, the semiconductor
product design domains, etc. There are so many places where India definitely has the seat on the table today. We've got to look at it, how am I going to strengthen the seat? How am I going to make sure that in areas where we don't really have enough seat, how am I going to get an interesting one there? And how am I going to retain my seat? Because the world is actually changing really fast. What do I have to retain these seats, right? That's how I would really like to frame the question and see how we can actually discuss it.
Right? JC.
Hey, thanks, Sanjesh. I think Santosh has covered most of it, so I can pass very fast. But first of all, thank you for coming. We are getting so boring on this topic that it's hard to get public now to come and listen to it. I just did actually in my car coming here, chat GPT on 3 questions that was sent, and it has all the answers. So now, what do we say, right? Which is beyond that you all already know. So Rajesh talked about 1947, right? What 3 trillion and so on. When you come to my age, you don't think 5 years and beyond. Because even if I start thinking that way, I know 5 years hence, maybe I should actually, because mind won't work as well, even if body is there. So I will just take the 5 to maybe 10. Maybe I will be cognitive, to 10 more. So I think Santosh put a very good picture on how in the supply chain of all the countries or organizations across the world, how do they play a part? It's very interesting if you study that whole semiconductor from design to manufacturing to reaching the customer and so on. It says that you have to cross at least 2-3 times the world, before the final product gets on. But so leaving that, what Santosh has already covered, I was thinking, what is going to be changing in the next 5 to 10 years that we should be prepared for? And even if we are behind in certain areas, let's say in manufacturing, for example, right, we are catching up on that. Design, we are already ahead. We are contributing to any report that you read, 20 to 25% of the overall worldwide design in the semiconductor space. But what can we think of what is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years that we can prepare ourselves for? So there are 3 things that come to my mind. One is on the technology side of it. I think AI, everybody uses that word, so I have to use it at least once to start with. But it is very, very important with the designs that AI technologies or ML technologies or LLMs are going to help create, the SOCs of the future. That is going to change tremendously the industry. It's not going to be another $500 million that you need on a single node designs that we are used to today. It is going to become more where industries are going to do more personalized designs because they will fall into $10 to $15 million range as far as what you need to invest in it. So that is a big change, and I think from India, since we are a very powerful design country, we need to think how that changes the scenario for us. So today, if hyperscalers are doing their designs, tomorrow I think the smaller OEMs across the world are going to be using the personalized designs. And India, since we are going to be a very high consumption as far as electronics is concerned, which consumes semiconductor, we need to look at how can we then take advantage of it and use it for the local OEMs here. So one is on the technology side. The second technology change that is coming up that we need to be prepared for, that we can contribute, is even the materials that are going to be used in the semiconductor space in future. I think GaN, silicon carbide are already have been tested over the last 4 or 5 years. In my view, they will start to come into the high volume, high production space of it. And how do you contribute to that? Because nobody has a lead on it. Few companies have, big companies have, but how can, new materials, new technologies that are coming in, how India can take a lead of it. The third one is on the consumer side of it. Where is the consumption going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? So one is the technology space, but where is it going to get consumed?
And I think every report that you read, although overall automobile segment is getting saturated as measured by number of cars being sold in the world, but that trend is actually opposite in India and going to be that for next 1 decade at least, where more cars are going to be sold. But not only that, the change from $200 electronics or semiconductor in a car to $600 to $1,500 electronics in the car. And this worldwide phenomena is one of the biggest, phenomena that we need to be actually really ahead of it. I think some of our neighboring countries, big countries, they are playing a big role in that. And for the first time in the next decade or so, the car's depreciation is going to go the lowest. Actually, it will appreciate because it will be software driven. As soon as you upgrade the software, your car actually, instead of depreciating, will appreciate in the value in the future. So how do you really comprehend all of that and say where now we need to play a role, right? So, that's what I wanted to add to, what
Great,
Santosh said.
great. Hitesh, your thoughts. There's a mic for you also there, Hitesh.
Okay. No, thank you, I think. No, first of all, very good morning, and thank you for inviting me for this panel. My job is even more harder. So whatever, I think most of the things were said by Santosh, and whatever remaining was already covered by JC. But I think, so here in this panel, we are talking about opportunities. How can India lead the way? And you said the context very right, that we see a $30 trillion opportunity of India going to be an economy in 2047 and the $3 trillion coming from the ESDM sector. So we are a big consumption economy, and I think for last 25, 30 years, and we know Texas Instruments was leading the way, having the first semiconductor company in Bangalore, right? So they were shipping even their hard drives on a bullock cart. So we have seen those nice pictures.
Yes.
So from there, we have come to a place where we are designing 2 nanometer, 3 nanometer, the world's most advanced chips in India, in Bangalore, in Karnataka. So we have come a long way. And I think JC talked about the automotive sector, so how we are going to become a consumer. The value of electronics, it's not the number of cars. They might stay the same, but how we are driving or how we are driving the ecosystem, so the electronic component inside the car, the whole innovation is coming from electronic and semiconductor sector. So that's a big opportunity. From India, what I see, we have certain strengths. We have created a great strength in chip design, doing the cutting edge chip design. At the same time, we have a strength in software. India is a big software powerhouse. How we can combine the power of these two to define and design more and more system thinking, right? So what we need more, I think, if you ask me, how we lead the way into the semiconductor space is to develop and design our own systems. I think we have, so for example, car is a system, right? How do we think about car as a system and define design solutions for that? So we have to come beyond a semiconductor chip design space. We have kind of nailed it, so I don't see that as a challenge. So that's a big, big opportunity we see in front of us with all the strengths that we have, and that's where I see opportunities to do more in the universities, in our academia. The startups are doing fantastic work in this ecosystem. There are more than 100,000 startups in India. 10-20% are sitting in Karnataka. So I would say Karnataka, given the powerhouse of technology, the powerhouse of semiconductor, can become also a powerhouse for systems. And that's what I see, that how we can lead the way.
Great, thank you. If I may add just a couple of my thoughts, I think you guys covered it supremely well. I see that the innovations India has done in like UPI, for example, or DigiYatra, or these are applications that we've developed for our markets in India with forethought, and they work in a highly reliable, seamless manner and improving lives. Even, every individual has a cell phone today because there's value that individual derives from having that. So the opportunity I see for us is to better serve the domestic market by utilizing the global supply chain and the global technology space that we have. And just like UPI is now being exported to global countries, these applications will naturally be an opportunity for growth for the company, for the country. And Adam Smith, 300 years ago said, if economies grow by balance of capital and labor investments, right? I think we have solved the labor problem. We have a giant talent pool. The capital problem has been solved in the software sector because capital markets have incentivized investment. I think as we start to see some exits, some valuable exits in the semiconductor space in India, the capital markets will open up, because up to now the capital markets have been hesitant to invest because these are seen as high capital, long times for return type of industries. When the capital markets open up with these few exits, we will start to see a torrent of entrepreneurial minded people who are much younger than the folks here. I'm sorry. Sorry to say, Santosh, but not us, but our next generation will see those opportunities. And I think 2047, I absolutely see us dominating this space because of those two, the combination of those two things. Anyway, thank you all for your thoughts. The next question, if I can wear my glasses, is why is the, to get where we want to go, why is the broader ecosystem important? Because again, to help people understand, the semiconductor ecosystem has so many different components to it, right? Even within manufacturing, there are, so many things, materials, there's gases and chemicals, there's wafer fabrication, there's chip assembly and testing. In design, there's IP, and then there is companies like ARM, and then there's products, and there's so many different opportunities. So if you look at the entire ecosystem, why is that important to India to achieve this objective? And please highlight some of the areas in which you see good things happening and where there are opportunities. So maybe I'll start with you, Hitesh, this time.
I think the ecosystem is very, very important, because we were discussing about the demand, right? So most of us, end of the day, we are technology providers. And we give it to your imagination, to your innovation, that what applications you develop based on our technologies. For example, I'll give you we created NFC, Near Field Communication Technology, 20 years back. For 10 years, there was no takers of that technology, right? But for last 10 years, everybody is using near field communication for secure transactions. It's there in all our credit cards. It's there even in our passports that we have it. Even so many of the secure applications, we are having this technology. So we, as a semiconductor companies, end of the day, we are cooking technologies. But we have to work with the ecosystem to find the right applications, so that we can make the life easier, better, smarter. And that's what we are all doing, right? So we can come with this concept, and if we don't have those applications, guys, if we don't have the smart, you can say the end market, so our innovation will also be limited. So I think that's where we need the ecosystem who will take our innovations, our technology for the right applications, so that we can hit the ecosystem better. So what we do is we take our technologies to Samsungs of this world, or maybe Apples of this world. They say, we don't like to remove the connector that you have, right? We have this high-speed link, which is at a 60 gigahertz, which will give 20 terabytes or whatever speed. Then they have to adapt. They have to see that how it lands up in their products. So we are a strong system player. We can think that what will be the needs, but eventually it has to translate into the products. So I think working closely with our partners, with our customers, with the ecosystem is the need for better penetration of the technology.
JC?
So I think, Rangesh, why this is important, I think it's a good question. I was just thinking while, we were hearing from, Hitesh too. See, one of the things is that semiconductors is becoming a very, very integral part of our lives, more and more in the last, 10 years or so. And we all depend, how we lead our lives, how we get entertained, how we do our business or work, right, depends on it. World economies actually are very much dependent on it. And more are getting, moving towards this dependence. And especially the economies that have larger, GDP or the larger number of people, right? You really cannot live without the technology innovation and using the technology to grow yourself. You can't just grow by older means anymore. So for a country like India, it becomes a very, very important ingredient that we have a good say in the overall global semiconductor supply chain. So one is the need for the economy, how we lead our lives and so on. The second is, I think it's also from country's perspective, the security part of it, self-reliance on it. Even if you can never be a self-reliant country doing everything in semiconductor. I'm not saying that would happen. And I don't see it happening at least in next 10 years. I'm only thinking, 10. But having a good say in it, having a seat on the table when the negotiations happen at the global level is very, very important for the country like India from security perspective. And, having certain, you can call it strategic electronics or critical electronics that you need, some indigenization that is required in a country like India. Those are two from the country specific, reasons that you need to do it. Now, why you need it beyond that? The third one, I see it that if you have, what Hitesh said, if you have a large consumption in India that is growing very, very fast, $200 billion today, $400 billion by 2030 of electronics, then you need some of that to be produced, not only imported, but to be produced in India. And the cost becomes a very, very important factor. If you don't do some of the elements in India or in a particular place, the cost becomes very, very heavy. And it keeps growing, because if today's 40 billion, I think we consume semiconductors in India, if it gets to 110 billion, 200 billion in the coming years, in next 10 years, I think the cost of not doing it is very, very heavy. Right? So I think those are the three factors I can think of why we absolutely need to do, some of it. But don't take my point and say everything has to be done in India. That would never happen. There is a huge supply chain that is a global supply chain, and we have to become a very critical part of it. That's what I'm asking.
Santosh?
Very well said, both Hitesh and JC on the comments, right? I'll just add my perspectives to this important question. I think one of the important reasons why we are looking at it is not only for the self-sufficiency of it. That's important for any country to really have its own control, right? But we should also look at this as on the economic side of it. Suppose we go ahead and do this, right? How is this going to change our GDP? How is this going to change the quality of life of the people that we really have? If you have to meet that goal, we should really think for a moment that everything that we will do in India will be available for the whole world. And the whole world is also available for us, which means that if I'm actually trying to do a product that we have to go back and sell in an appliance, we should not really sell it because, look, the appliances that are actually made in India, they will buy from India if we are actually designing in India or making in India. We should do it because that's the best product available for that appliance, which means that today we should go back and look at in the world that in the Shenzhen area, if I can actually go back and put a product that we develop and design here, it can be sold in Shenzhen because it's world competitive. If you create a product like that, then you can be 100% sure that India grows as a market, which we are very, very, which we have the greatest opportunity to grow in the next 15, 20 years in front of us, right? We will have the best chance of leveraging that opportunity. Otherwise, India market will grow, irrespective of whether we play to it or not. But we will not leverage the advantage of the India growing market if we don't really do that. So the question is that what are we doing now? The market is going to be big, right? What are you guys doing now, and what should we really do now? There are so many evolving technologies that happen over here, right? For example, world was not necessarily understanding when EV was coming into big play. what is the role of EV in a two-wheeler market? What is the role of electronics in the two-wheeler market? India is a world leader in two-wheelers today. How many of us realize that we can actually create products for India, for the two-wheeler market, and have excellent business? Much before all of us have actually realized, right? Several startups have understood the value of it, right? Just look at the number of startups that we really have in the two-wheeler space today. Suppose you just go back and make the young people India, the enterprising people of India, who is actually coming out from the colleges, right? And give them the opportunities to go back. Because the most important question that we have to answer in that is, what are we really building? Because over history of time, we have actually learned who will do the product, when will we do the product, will we do the product in time, right? There is an important question, right? Will we do it inside the budget? All of that, why should we really do the product? These have been answered really, really well. The opportunity that we have in front of us is that, right? Do we know exactly what to build? Going back to the same example, right? Suppose I'm actually creating a product for an appliance. Do we know what it actually takes to create that product in the small space? I may not be manufacturing. I may be only designing. I may be only testing the product. I may be only doing the logistics for that product from here. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Do we know what it takes to be the world leader on an important segment sitting out from India? That's the question that we have in front of us. And that's the exercise that we have to do today with a lot more focus. A lot of opportunities are there with startups. A lot of opportunities are with existing players over there and the new players that will actually come, right? My view is that, right, the most important asset that we really have is talent, right? Ranga talked about it in a very, very beautiful way. I'll add to this, right? In this technology world, capital flows where talent is. Capital and talent are not any different. If you have the talent, capital flows in it. Where else will we really go back and invest? We will go back and invest in our people, right? That's what the world does everywhere. As long as we hold to the talent, as long as we can actually enrich the talent at every stage, right? Which is what we are all trying to do. Capital will absolutely flow. Capital has never been a problem. Talent has been a problem. Capabilities have been a problem. And we have to build those muscles every day for an important future that we are actually building up here.
Great. Thank you so much. Very, very insightful comments. And to add my perspective on this, coming from, you see the ecosystem right here on this panel, right? We have chip makers and we have chip manufacturers, right? And we have equipment manufacturers. We could add materials folks, we could add, IP folks. And if you wanted to make room for every part of the ecosystem that it takes to have a semiconductor industry, we don't have enough space on this stage, right? And so what that tells you, and I think JC said it, no one country has everything that it takes to have a fully self-sufficient semiconductor industry. There are a couple of elements from my perspective why it matters to India to have the ecosystem. One is there is a security perspective. I'll give an example of a very small country in Europe. It's called Netherlands. This small country has a couple of companies that without which a lot of things cannot happen, and therefore has an outsized seat at the table when it comes to global discussions on security matters, right? And so developing a position like that, even in any one segment or area, can be highly beneficial from a security point of view for the country, right? So, but how do you know where that is going to come from? Because, I don't think the Netherlands knew in 1985 that these two companies will be who they are today, right? So those investments weren't made with foresight or vision, they just happened because multiple investments happened in the ecosystem. So I think that is a very important reason to do the investment in the ecosystem. The other part is the economics, which you pointed out. For every job, for every, maybe $1 trillion of semiconductor, there's 250 billion in the equipment space. And then there's another 150 in the material space. And then there's, probably we buy from people who, create tens of jobs. So for every job created in the semiconductor end market, there's tens of jobs behind it that create a job and economic opportunity for the country. So to me, the investment in the ecosystem is a must-have to make that happen. Yeah, makes sense. All right. Thank you. Maybe I'll focus now. in India in particular, there's been a lot of press and media discussions around manufacturing because it is kind of sexy, right? It's a sexy conversation to have, big billions of dollars being spent. Given India's ambitions, now I'll limit this question to you, JC, since you're in the manufacturing space. Given India's ambitions to be a key player in manufacturing, what are some of the key roadblocks that you see that need to be removed? How can industry and government collaborate, and how can we make this happen? Yeah.
Thanks. And thanks for not asking the direct question. Yeah, the indirect one I can answer. For the direct one, I'll have to either lose my job or lie here.
I didn't ask you the direct question.
So
if you promise not to ask me the direct question back.
Yeah, so, I think even before we get to India, what your question was, what are the challenges? That's what the question, right? I think even before I go to India, you need to first look at what is happening in the world and what challenges I am at least able to see in the next, again, 4 or 5 years, actually quite soon. One of the things, if you look at all the announcements that have happened in the semiconductor manufacturing space, if you take all of that capacity that will get built, and if you take all of the demand that is going to come in the next decade, there is a huge gap. Okay? More capacity, I'm saying. It's not the problem of demand more than the capacity, right? So you see that, number one, how do you react to that when you are thinking from India perspective? The second, it's very obvious because of the geopolitical thing. Today the consumption, 30% comes from Americas, 29-30 comes from China, then rest of the world has 12-13% demand from Europe and so on. India has a smaller piece of that today. But if you look at where the manufacturing is happening, actually it's a little bit of a flip, right? Where most of it is in the Taiwan, 25-20%. I think Japan is 10. Don't take my numbers, guys. This is, I don't know exactly what numbers are. And Satya, don't correct me also, okay? If these are wrong numbers, please.
When the whole thing is over, Satya will correct all of us.
But the bigger point is, I think where the demand is and where the manufacturing is happening, percentages are going to shift in the next 5 to 10 years. And the whole focus of those countries, they also do, where the demand is more and the manufacturing is not happening, you have seen the CHIPS Acts, Chips and Science Acts and so on and so forth in Europe and US. So that will make a shift. Now in this scenario, we have to look at now where do we play a role and how do we play a role? It has to be a very intelligent decision, whatever we are taking. I think the best thing that has happened is the government coming out and making a bold step in $10 billion already an investment, and I think what I'm hearing is maybe more will come. And a couple of companies have already made commitments to that investment. The important point there is, I think we need to see the two trends that are going on in the global scenario, and how do we really make sure that the customer is clear and the technology that you are adopting or going to use you are very clear that it will work out in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So if the money is taken care of, because I always tell people there are 3 things, you need money for this market because it's a large gestation period, 10 years you would have. I think with government support, that's pretty much taken care of. If you take care of technology and the customer together, then I think it's a safe bet. Otherwise, you have to really think through and take the right bet in this environment. So from my perspective, I think the government's initiative on the incentives is a great one. This is the best one that anywhere in the world you have 70-75% plus capex investment that you can make, plus in the design space too. The only challenge the third India would face, where we have to figure out, because the whole ecosystem is not there. So there is a cost involved in making sure that you start development without the ecosystem. Ecosystem will slowly come. And between the brown field and the green field, which is India, what is that gap people still see? Because many other countries where already the factories are, their governments are incentivizing too, from anywhere from 30% to 50%, right? So we have to really look at the ecosystem shortage that we have today. How do we fill up that gap? Either bring the ecosystem faster or also incentivize the ecosystem to come faster to the country.
Thank you. Since I'm also in the manufacturing space, I'll add a little bit of perspective to that. I totally agree with you. I think the semiconductor scheme 1.0, I'll call it, focused on the fabs directly. And what we've since realized is we do need to also focus on the ecosystem. So, the government has said a lot about that. Nothing formally announced yet. My expectation is at some point, and I don't know anything, again, please don't quote me, I have no knowledge of anything specific, but I expect that logically the government of India, based on the public statements they've made, will support the establishment of the broader ecosystem as well. And I think just like when TI started with bullock carts in 1984 and to where we are today, I think we'll see, this is just a journey that we have to go through. In terms of the roadblocks of, in 1984 when we started, there was not many people in India who knew how to design chips, right? Today we are serving 25%. Today there are not too many people who know how to build chips in a factory. But that's, again, JC is solving that problem already. I think you have a number of people who are now contributing to your global factories from India, as is Lam Research with the work that we're doing. So I have no doubt that the talent challenges can be solved with time, and the ecosystem with the government support, I think we'll see this come to fruition. Yeah, thank you. All right, Santosh and Hitesh.
A minor point to add to that.
Sure.
Is that right? Something that is actually changing in the last 10, 15 years in a very significant way is that, right? Our ability to predict what kind of products are going to be important 3 years from now, 5 years from now is actually coming down. If you just look at it, right? Earlier, we could sit and imagine and go back and put a graph and say, hey, this is how the graph is actually going to be. We could go back and create systems. You look at any semiconductor product, we take more than 2 to 3 years to develop the product. If you take any process technology that we're talking, it takes 3 to 5 years to mature the process technology, right? While this is actually changing in a very, very fast way compared to what it was, right? We all feel it and experience it now. An important change is that the predictability of the future is in a big question mark. In the sense, none of us can sit and say, this is what the end user or the customer will demand 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So how do we create a system in a very accelerated way, not clearly able to put a dot exactly say that this is exactly where we are going to be in the world, right? And it's a beautiful thing for something like India, right? How do we bring in the flexibility of design? How do we bring in the adaptability of the design, right? While we go through a process like this, right? And for any kind of a system, when you are looking at something where significant changes are actually happening, incumbents will actually suffer because they think they know it, they have done it. And the new players like us jumping into the field has a huge opportunity because we don't know. We think we don't know. That's how we are actually starting. For some, when we really think, I don't really know, my ability to plan, prepare, and start flexible, right? Like an exam. When I don't know what I have to write in an exam a week from now, I'm going to be a lot more preparing for it rather than somebody who is thinking I have done all of this, right? And we needed to have that agility in our mindset when we really create products for the future, because we have to stay ourselves humble and flexible, thinking that I just don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So let me prepare myself, my organization, my team, my products to survive in a world which surely is going to be big, but exactly don't know what are the characteristics of that point. Just wanted to add.
No, thank you. It's a great lead into my next question. I was going to add fearlessness also, because this also creates opportunity that you don't have to worry about the big moats that the incumbents might have, because you have an opportunity to disrupt it. So, okay, that's a good lead into the next question. This I'll direct to you, Santosh and Hitesh. We have been very successful in terms of number of people working on chip design. There is a perception perhaps that because we don't have NVIDIAs of the world at the trillion-dollar market caps today, there's perhaps a perception that the IP creation or deep tech innovation or products from semiconductors are not so visible to us from India. So how do you guys see as to where we are, sort of give us a baseline as to where we really are? Because Hitesh, I heard from you in the car today some things that I didn't know before, so maybe you can share some of that. And then also, where do we go from here in terms of that angle, semiconductor products?
Yeah, no, I think, thanks for this question. And you said it's a perception. And I believe that's the case. It's nothing more than a perception. India is buzzing with a lot of innovation in all sectors, right? Whatever you say, okay, this is the futuristic technology, you will see 10 startups on that topic in India. If you talk about quantum compute, I thought, okay, so we are doing some quantum compute work with some governments in Europe. I said, this is a new topic, but when I started searching, I found 10 startups which are working in quantum key distribution, quantum compute, so this is a very futuristic topic. You talk about IP, right? You said RISC-V. That's an innovation which is happening in the ecosystem. In our universities, in IIT Madras, Professor Kamakoti, so he's leading the way. So he's having an ecosystem of 10 startups around him. So somebody is developing a core, somebody is doing a verification, somebody is building a software. So they are building a complete ecosystem in a university ecosystem. And when you talk about AI, there are multiple startups which are there, so fantastic startups which are having valuation of more than $1 billion. The only thing is that those are visible to the people who are actually looking with a lens. So India is buzzing with a lot of innovation, with startups, and I think it's just a matter of time. You need not to be, yeah, of course, as I said, there are startups with more than $1 billion valuation. It's a matter of time that you will see this NVIDIAs or any other such companies coming in. But for us, like Santosh pointed out very, very rightly, many of us does not know what the future holds for us. So are we clear about all our product roadmap? Answer is no. We are defining, okay, this is how the future will look like, and these are the capabilities, these are the missing pieces in the ecosystem or in our solutions we need to have. So that's what we are building. And that's where we, even in the semiconductor companies, we are bringing that system thinking. How we can put our thinking into, I would say, looking at our customer solutions, that how can we serve them better? How can, instead of bringing a chip, how can we give a system solutions to them? Especially in automotive industry 4.0 is having a huge opportunity. And how the actual solutions will look like, we even don't know. All we can bring is these technology pieces and how they should be stitched together, how we are giving them software to enable them. The only thing, the speed of ecosystem, which Santosh talked about, is asking us to reinvent ourselves, is to provide a complete solution which is not only hardware but software and a system integration ready. So I think these are the challenges, and semiconductor companies are not semiconductor company, only a chip companies anymore. So we are kind of stepping ourselves into more and more system companies. And with this, with the ecosystem that we have here, with the startups, with the IPs, innovations which are happening, we are completely tapping into this ecosystem.
Great. Santosh, your perspective?
Good points, right? I'll just add maybe a couple. If somebody asks you today, which is a good place to start a career or build a career, right? And several youngsters will, I'm sure, ask several of you. It goes without saying that you can easily recommend semiconductors, electronics, and the associated spaces, right? Because for all the reasons that you said, buzzing with energy, a lot more people trying to do, the startup ecosystem growing, all of them are extremely obvious things that is happening that we experience every day, right? Which we see over decades of time how things have actually changed, right? How are we leveraging this additional energy, additional set of people, the new set of people studying VLSI in colleges, right? How are we really trying to do that and leverage, right? For For a company like TI, we leverage a lot with what is really happening in campus, academics. 80-90% of the people that we hire, we directly hire from the campuses. We bring in interns to work and all of that, right? That's just our way of going back and tapping into that energy as well as serving that energy. But if you just look at an ecosystem, there are two important things that we can actually try to do into that ecosystem of players with a lot of energy. Number one is that, right, are we able to expose them to the real opportunities? When startups are actually coming, right, are we able to connect to the real market, what is really happening? Because that's an important place, right? Because that is where we actually learn. That's when, with all the simulations, all the practices that we have actually done every day, you get into the ground and you start phasing the balls, right? And that's very, very important. As established players, are we able to connect to the real market scenarios that is really happening around us, right? That's the most important question that we can actually try to do to the younger sets of people really coming around us at this point of time. Second thing is that, which is related to this, is that, right, are we able to think adjacent players into the market? Suppose I'm actually trying to do something, for example, right, I'm trying to do something for, take the same example, two-wheeler markets out there, right? People who are working on the technology, do they understand material science? Do they understand battery charging mechanisms? Do they understand what it actually takes to increase the life of the battery by some more? Or the number of charging cycles I can actually try to do? Because electronics plays an important role. So while you have to be an expert in your domain, your ability to catch and work on adjacent technology, which is really the fun of true engineering, when you really go back and look at it, right? You're going to be an expert in a domain, but you're going to connect other domains to it and come back and play a role into this, right? These two are important things that India can actually do significantly more, because that's when you're actually saying, I'm connecting to the end equipment, I'm connecting to the market, right? All this energy that you're actually trying to save need not be limited only to semiconductors and electronics. We can actually expand to the whole of engineering. How do I ensure that the best of the people working in material science get a great opportunity by working in India for a problem that we are actually trying to solve? Because these are all connected fields, right? If you just look at it and how heat is dissipated, how much power, I mean, we talk about all the servers, right, that we are talking. How does this get dissipated? What kind of materials do I need to put together, right? So every domain of engineering that we are actually going through is getting challenged and will get challenged as we really go through, right? Ability for us to connect those pieces and really bring the right minds to the problem. We don't know about solutions because we have to create the solutions, but we got to bring them to the right problem so that the best of the solutions will evolve and some of that will actually stick with us, right? That's the hope that we have and that's the plan that we can work.
Yeah, maybe a small point to add. So I was going to Visakhapatnam 3 weeks back, and in my car there was a young entrepreneur, and this guy, he's running his startup for drone deliveries. I would say he's building up, and I said, okay, what are your challenges? He said, my biggest challenge is, one is that my battery, I think it just dies down very quickly. And second is, I want to control the cost of my delivery. He said, my target is, I would like to bring it to, so currently it's around 7 or 8 rupees. I would like to bring it to 15 or 20 paisa. He said, even an Oreo biscuit, I would like to deliver to people's home, and that should be cost effective. So with these kind of problem statement, right, we are building solutions. How do we create a camera solution? How do we create accurate positioning, ultra wideband, those kind of technology? How do we make battery management most effective so that he does not, so he can bring the cost from 7 rupees to 15. So I think these are the entrepreneurs who are showing us the way how we innovate. Just to add to what
it's very heartening to hear both of you say that the actual reality of India is may not be fully publicized and visible, but the activity is very, very high. I agree with you. It's buzzing, and there are many, many opportunities for youngsters who are willing to take the risk and think like systems engineers, because I think that's one of the disciplines that we are missing, in large numbers, right? We have a lot of point, deep vertical talent, but we don't have the enough T-shaped people who can go deep when needed into one thing and then come back out and go broad at the same time. And we need to build that skill set. Structurally speaking, my opinion is India has suffered from one thing, which is the low cost of labor has made us lazy. So, as we grow up, right, even to fix the bicycle chain, you take it to the neighborhood bicycle shop, right? Whereas in certain other economies of the world, the cost of labor is prohibitive, but you learn to work with your hands. You fix everything around your house with your own hands. And that builds in you a system engineering mindset from when you are young. So, and then when we companies, Santosh, when I looked at the problem we had, we would go to hire people. The only proxy we had for skills was GPA and the quality of the educational institution. Well, that does not guarantee that person is going to be good with their hands. And a lot of things, what we need to do is people need to be good with their hands. So one little solution we did was to start this systems engineering challenge. So it's a nationwide competition. And lo and behold, now half of my interns next year are going to come from the toppers from that challenge who were not top of their class, who did not, but demonstrated a skill set with their hands. So I think there are those kids out there. There are the people out there. Our systems have not allowed it to come to surface. And so now we will create those opportunities and we will come to the surface. So I think it's a good connection to the last question I had. This is to all of you, the talent question. While we say we have a great talent pool, I think the numbers are large. What do you think about the quality of that talent pool and where it needs to be, and how do we get it to be where it needs to be over the next few years? So maybe we'll start with you, Santosh.
I think if good people, for example, a few years back, right, a few decades back, not few years back, came out of colleges, their opportunity to get trained better, their opportunity to improve would be to look for a visa, go out somewhere, some other country, spend several years there, and then feel that, oh, I'm accomplished, right? Good thing that has actually happened over a few decades that we have over here is that, right? Cutting edge, high quality work, end to end happens right here, right? There are people who can actually come out of colleges, come into any of the places that we are actually working, and that's just not the people sitting in the floor over here, but several places in the country, right? End-to-end product development is happening, which is very, very encouraging because opportunities are absolutely available there, etc. There are a couple of places where we would really like to see even more, right? When we really are doing well, we can actually do even more. Number one, can we really increase the quality of teachers that is happening in the colleges? To me, the most important thing is that, right, how do we bring them to the real world? Once you have become a teacher, right, you are actually a teacher for a life, right? My dad is a teacher, he's actually taught for life physics. How do we ensure that teachers like that who actually stayed and worked for long, how do we really bring them once in a while to the real world, give them the experience, and also the rest of the people to learn, right? So we have to be imaginative. We do have people who come from some of the best colleges, come work in TI for a couple of years, literally work in TI for 2-3 years. We learn a lot from them. They learn a lot of things about it, and they go back and teach, right? The exposure that we are able to give to teachers when they really do a program like that, where they come, get embedded inside an organization, learn and go back, is just fantastic, because then they can actually scale it down to a larger number of people, right? Can we ensure that we can actually provide a lot more internship programs than what we're trying to do today? There are programs that has actually come, we are actually doing it with the students. Can we do even more? Can we really even more simply by the fact of thinking that I'm not doing a service to them, I'm going to sit and learn the way that they think, how they are actually solving a problem, how they are approaching a problem. Can companies be even more open in really bringing higher levels of internship? Something that the government can actually do even better today is that, can we put national level research problems in front of academia? Can we take a bigger problem that the country faces today? Can we really, for example, right, can we really put out a problem that says that, how do I just triple the content of land that can be serviced by water today? There is a lot of land that we really have today which does not reach water. But there is technology available today that I can actually go back and adapt to really create much higher, better crops. If I'm having one crop today, I can have 3 crops today. If I don't really have fruits, I can actually have ways in which I can develop fruits today. Technology allows the solution for today. Can we really imagine ourselves to sit and create national level problems, right, that put in front? How does that help? It actually will bring significantly higher level of research and innovation into academia. because they will be freely thinking about a problem and come up with multiple different solutions. Some of that will be practical, that will be applied. Some of them will be for the future generations to go and adapt, right? But we absolutely have to increase the practical hands-on learning in the colleges and research as an immediate way to go and address it. And government and other institutions actually can have a huge impact on increasing the quality of research and the content of research with an ability to solve a national problem in front of us, which is extremely motivating for a lot of set of young people to come back and say, this is what I did, right? I made fruits possible in a barren land, which was not really possible today, right? Those are the kind of opportunities that we would really like to live with when we look at younger talent for the country.
Thank you, Santosh. JC?
No, I think Santosh covered it well. I think the research one, I absolutely agree. We need to do much more in the research mindset and what we can do. So, just a little bit, different way. I will not answer the quality question from if they are ready for the jobs and so on. But, few things I observe. Youngsters don't mind it. I'm being honest here. One of the things is what I feel we are lacking, we need to really focus. And this we have to focus right from the beginning. I'm not taking only colleges and so on. I think the curiosity part of it within ourselves, right, when we are coming on, just having a curiosity of an industry, what is the next we need to do in this industry and so forth. See, in this today technological world, with all the information available to us around which we can really do it on our phones and at our homes, there is no excuse to not to be ready today for anything. If I need to take a totally new job somewhere, new industry, I think I can prepare myself in 1 month without really even going to the college or institutions, because there is so much available today. But having that curiosity, is something we need to really engage with the students right from the school days, not when they come to the colleges, right? The second one, I would say, reaching the excellence. I think we are very good at doing the job, learning, doing the job, but how do you really excel at something and be the top 2% or 1% in the world? I think those two things, sometimes I feel there are people who go for it, and we know people who are doing, coming from Indian educational institutions who are doing great globally. But that percentage, I think, we need to somehow, make sure we increase. And then in the semiconductor, specifically in the semiconductor space with manufacturing and so on, I think we need to be a little bit relaxed there, I feel. See, if you really take it, how many fabs, I'm just talking about manufacturing because people say we need to train so many people, right? Even if you have 3 fabs, let's say 4, at the most you will have total of 10,000 people, total, right? And at the top where you require is maybe 500-600, top, engineering excellent guy who have this experience. Today in India, with all the people who have gained that experience, who have come back, you have lots of them. You need to just identify, pay them right, and you will, get those. Second, we have our, Indians or even non-Indians, right, across the world. As you said, everybody, this is a great place to come and work. I think we can attract those people here. And the last one I would say, if we need to create 3 or 4 fabs, we can send 1,000 people in different fabs and get them trained, right? So I think we should not get too much, worried about that part of it. But having that curiosity mindset, the excellence, to achieve something at the top 1% of the world, I think something we need to bring to our educational system and in our students, and especially in the youngsters who are sitting in the audience here.
Right. Hitesh, your perspective?
No, I think Santosh and JC covered it very, very well. So I have exactly the same points. Technology is a great leveler, right? So we talk about I would say anybody sitting in Bangalore has no advantage as compared to somebody sitting in a tier 2 or a tier 3 city, right? You get access to information, access to technology in every place. So I think if you think that you are in this city or into a big city and you have exposure to technology, I think that's a complete myth. So you should come to reality. And I go back to JC's point, right, that the curiosity part has to go up. I think, and even I would go even to that level, the people who are coming from smaller cities, who have more hunger to learn, more curiosity, they will do better in life. So if on one side, your question was more on the quality of talent. I think this is fantastic. We, in India, we have wealth of talent, right? So we are doing the best of chip design, the 2 nanometer, the advanced chip design, the deep experts. So for example, a few years back, somebody told me that, I said, okay, we hired a person. I said, okay, what do you do? He said, I'm a knock expert. I said, what is knock? I'm in this field for 30 years, or I did not know what is knock, right? It's one of the deep interconnection standards, right, which you do when you do advanced chip engineering. So we have those kind of people in India which you don't see anywhere else. So we have deep expertise into certain domains and we can execute things. But I think coming back to Santosh's point, we should focus more on research. What I see more and more students, they are coming immediately, they want to come to the jobs, they want to start. And because of this, our universities are drying a bit. We don't have good quality students in even the top institutes to do research, to do fundamental research. So I think the more you learn, the more you invest in your formative years, the longer you can have differentiation in your career. So the more you invest now in yourself, your career will stay for long. So I think that's what at least the advice, exactly picking up what Santosh and what JC said, is let's not go for easier heavens, guys. So learn more. System thinking is what this country will take us ahead. That's where we need to invest, systematically invest, even in research topics. So I think that's at least my advice and my push, if I would like to, how I would like to advise to this ecosystem.
Great, thank you. So my own perspective on this is I have every faith that we will get all the talent we need. I'm aligned with you, JC, when you said we don't really have a problem per se. But I would like to see a broader penetration of more consistency in our educational excellence across the entire set of universities that actually get licensed to deliver degree programs. So perhaps a increase of our own expectations as a society by way of accreditation programs or more meaningful incentives to increase the level of quality of teaching, perhaps compensation to teachers to make it an attractive profession to go to. These are all systemic problems that government can help a lot in solving. And even some philanthropists and senior business leaders can think about how to solve these problems. The Indian School of Business was created out of a vision to create a high-quality management institute. And today, I would argue it has reached that level. And again, it's a kind of a vision of few people to make something happen. So we could see that happening. So I'm pretty confident about that. So with that, I think we are almost out of time. So if anybody wants to summarize and say a few things, please.
I think you said very well and you summarized several points, right? I think opportunities for us are enough and more. There are enough problems to solve, enough opportunities are there in front of us to go and solve. The real question is that how prepared are we now to take these opportunities by storm, go enter into this and really come out very successful. What are we preparing personally ourselves, individually, each of us, how much are we really prepared to do? How much are we preparing our organizations? How much are we really preparing the country for this to take these opportunities, right? Because these opportunities will be there for the entire world. This will not be really limited only to India. As much as India has all the opportunities that is existing in the world, all these opportunities in India will also be available for the whole world, right? How are we preparing ourselves to take these opportunities and learn from it? All right, a huge learning experience that we are looking at it, excellence that JC talked about, several such points out there. that tell us that the next decade is going to be our decade. If we choose to go play in it very smartly in it, right? All the opportunities are out there that we can go and leverage, right? So one of the best times to be in high technology domains, if you are already in. If you're not in, come in. There is a lot of opportunities for us to be in the best domains.
Thank you, Santosh. JC, any
Yeah,
wrapping up thoughts?
Yeah, no, same, Rangesh. Actually, what Santosh said, to be very frank, I'm jealous that I am 15 years older. If for the youngsters who are in the who are in the audience, see, first of all, you will not find an industry that absolutely is going to have a growth path for next 2 decades. You cannot have many industries you can talk about which will have at least 7 to 8% growth if you look at next 2 decades. So if you become part of that industry, and if you are in India, where the consumption, the innovation, the production, all is going to really happen. It has already taken off. Design, we are already doing 20-25% of those designs. Manufacturing is picking up. So if you look at all of that, there couldn't be a better time for youngsters to be part of this industry and part of the ecosystem here. Now, what we need to decide for ourselves is, are we going to be mostly consuming or are we going to be really innovating in the next 2 decades, right? I think that is the only question in my mind. So, that's how I think about it, and I'm very excited for whatever time I have left in this industry.
Great. Hitesh?
For me, there's one word which is key, that is collaboration. You talk about ecosystem, and I think there are fantastic things happening in pockets in this country, in this state, in Karnataka. I think the best advantage we can get out of that if we all connect, if we can leverage each other's advantages that we have, right? Be it the startup ecosystem, we talk about university ecosystem. We not only have to consume from the ecosystem, we also have to give it back to ecosystem. And that's where Santosh talked about training the teachers, right? So I think collaboration is the key. If we have to be successful, even for the startups, even for the youngsters. See, of course, your mind can, and for us, right, even being a big company, we look at all the startup ecosystem. That what are the key innovations? Because I have only 10,000 people in the company who are innovating. But in the startup ecosystem, there are 100,000, 100,000 people who are innovating every day. So we need to respect that ecosystem. We need to tap into that ecosystem. We need to collaborate with more and more people so that we can go together. So I think if we are walking alone, we can only go so far. But if we are walking together, we have a huge opportunity in front of all of us.
Very, very well said, all three of you. Thank you very much for all your time. I think we learned a lot today about the value of having ecosystem, value of having collaboration, the opportunities and the excitement. It's palpable even for us old fogies. I go to work every day jazzed up because every day brings a new opportunity, and it's been incredible for me. 30 years in the industry, and I thought at sometime 10 years ago, I thought with Moore's law slowing down, maybe things will slow down. But we've learned that we can work. The innovation engine is endless. And Moore's law, no one even talks about it anymore, right? I mean, we didn't talk about it once today. So it tells you that, we can do a lot when there is sufficient demand for the right applications. And if people have gotten hooked onto this drug called semiconductors, the share of wallet, I saw a study by McKinsey that showed that while real income stayed stagnant in the US for 15 years, their share of wallet increased by $400 towards electronics. And that told you that the value perception, they reduced spending in other areas and moved it to electronics. And it tells you the opportunity that is going to continue to happen. And I think youngsters in the audience, it's a great time to enter the industry. It's a great time to take risk, because when there is rapid growth, risk is on. And as a youngster, you should be fearless, and you should pursue every opportunity you can get. That's my personal objective. If I were 15 years younger, JC, I might think of starting up something myself, but Other than that, I just pontificate. So thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, dignitaries, for taking the time of joining us out here at Invest Karnataka 2025 and sharing with you your thoughts and perspective on how it's India's turn to lead the semiconductor revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, if I could request you to kindly put your hands together for the thoughts, inputs, and words shared this morning. Requesting you to kindly stay back on stage. On behalf of the government of Karnataka, we have a small token of appreciation to hand over to the four of you, and thanking you for your time for joining us out here once again for Invest Karnataka 2025. Understanding that we might have a few questions coming in from the audience, I request our panelists to kindly stay back on stage. If we could have, if you could just take my mic over and name yourself and kindly address yourself question to the dignitaries.
Respected speakers, it was nice listening to you, and it was quite. I'm not from chip industry or IT and all that, but still I could understand whatever you spoke. So that was the clarity what you made today. I am here in this session because of my daughter. She is working in USA as a technical specialist in power electronics. So she said, Appa, I want to do something in India. I want to develop some product. So she wrote to everywhere, from PMO office to everywhere. She could not get a, a platform where she can understand which product and what can be good for her. So if you can suggest that, is there any such platform where one can understand which products can have a demand, and all that?
There's a guy in the audience who can answer that question better than any of us can. But maybe I'll give you a chance, Satya, to answer that question later. But one of you have an answer for the gentleman here?
Yeah.
Just contact Dr. Satya Gupta and he'll help you.
Okay.
And short answer. But there are many platforms. Yeah. It's just a matter of knowing and understanding where to look.
Okay.
And so, yeah. But
right from the production to consumption, right? There are huge changes happening in power electronics with not just the volume of changes happening, right? Whether how much it goes high voltage, how much it actually goes higher frequency. So many things are actually happening. When you look at it, right, at the core of it, even though a chip consumes maybe 1 or 1.1 volt, we are trying to bring much higher voltages, much more closer to the chip. Because it's simple rule, I squared R loss is much better if you actually go back and bring much higher voltages inside, right? Yes. That's very interesting. That's very powerful. That's very interesting. It's also very challenging when it comes to safety perspective, right? Yes. So the electronics domain that is dealing with power electronics is very, very, very crucial. There are system problems to be solved. There are semiconductor problems to be solved. There are even board level problems to be solved in that, right? There are safety issues to be resolved for it. It's an upcoming field, and it's a very, very interesting field. Like what Satya sir said, he has quite a lot of interesting challenges to go and work. Please work with it. There are also multiple reports available from India today which actually says these are the opportunities available in these segments, right? And power electronics is captured as a very, very important one. We can also learn from your daughter to see what she's actually thinking and doing.
Yeah, see. And another one more small question.
I'm sorry, we have many people with questions, so thank you.
My name is Chandrasekhar. I saw the title as a chip on the table. Actually, the better title would have been wafer on the table and chip on the plate. We are in the middle of the road. We design chips for all the MNCs and big companies, but there is no wafer in the country, whether it's silicon wafer, which is common for both semiconductor and solar. There, 40 years before, a company manufactured silicon wafer in India. Many may not know. I was part of it in Tamil Nadu. Siltronics is the company. Why Indian companies are not manufacturing silicon wafer? Why they have to import the silicon wafer from Taiwan and Europe? So industry has to grow, fab has to come, silicon wafer is the base, sir. Thank you.
I'm not sure. I think his question is, 40 years ago we started with some silicon activities, but even today we are not manufacturing silicon wafers in India. Are you speaking to the raw wafer or? Polished wafers, yeah. So his question is, why is there not an active silicon wafer manufacturing industry? Maybe, JC, you can take a shot at that.
Yeah, I think why it is not there, multiple reasons. By the way, if you have been with the India ecosystem for last 15 years, you must have seen three attempts, right? And all fail attempts, right, in the past. So it's not that it has not been tried. My view is, I think the way this time the things have come together, where there is a very clear government intent onto it, because it's a high capex industry and you need some support there. The right technology companies coming together to say that they want to invest, and the reason being because our consumption, our market has become big enough also and which can be influenced by a lot of policies if you manufacture in India. So I think the government intent, the growth of the market this time, and the right technology companies, coming together. I think these three ingredients have not been in place for the longest time. And we did not have, lot of investors wanting to take a bet for a 10 years investment into it without having a very good, support from the government or somewhere. So I think this is the reason it has not, panned out till now. And for me, I think these three ingredients coming together, this is going to be a success story at this point of time. Unless you want to add something.
I think that's good, JC. I think are we out of time?
We can probably take one last question.
One last question.
We have one person out there with the mic for the gentleman
mic.
at the back. If you could have a mic handed over to the gentleman at the back, please. The one standing to the very corner of the hall. So please introduce yourself and follow it with your question. Due to time constraints, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last question and we move on to the next session.
Hi, very good morning, and thank you panel for some wonderful thoughts. Incidentally, I run a startup wherein LAM and even Texas happen to be my clients on the talent acquisition side. So happy to be in this room with you guys. So quick question on the whole manufacturing kind of a thought process which was discussed, right? Given the larger sense of tech protectionism which is typically happening between the Europe, US and China, right? Especially the ASML angle to it. How prudent it is for India to go behind a manufacturing thought process versus just to say that we will take the design and services bandwagon and build our strength there. So if we were to kind of do, going back to the analogy of the bullock carts used for rocket launches decades ago to where we are doing what we are doing now, which is the more faster, quicker way to get to that success?
Well, maybe I'll take a shot at the question. If I may rephrase the question, you're asking why should we focus on manufacturing when it seems difficult compared to design, etc. I think the panel already talked a lot about the importance of the whole ecosystem. And I think every part of the ecosystem needs to be developed to some degree. It's likely that we will have, more challenges and difficulty in certain areas than in other areas. But when we started in 1984 with that bullock cart, if we had been daunted by that, we would not be where we are today with chip design. So I would say that all these journeys have to start somewhere. And you have to also assume that nothing stays static. And what Santosh said, that we cannot predict 3 years from now what product to make. I have every hope and belief that there will be disruptions in everything because of the semiconductor technologies themselves, right? We're going to create chips that will allow us to think better and solve these material science problems better. And what's to stop an Indian Institute of Science or an IIT Madras team to come up with an innovation that allows us to gain a foothold in this field? So I think it would be wise not to stop just because the challenges are daunting. I remember one of the most inspiring quotations was President John F. Kennedy in 1961 saying, "We will land on the moon before the end of the decade." No one thought it was possible, right? It was literally viewed as impossible. But the whole country pulled together and did it. There are multiple examples like that, and I think we're at that moment here as well. And so I'm fully supportive of the government strategy to make this happen and make the right investments. So that's my view.
No, I think just to add, I think you summed up very well. So I would define the innovation in the semiconductor sector into broadly two regions. One is the product innovation and second is the process innovation. I think we are already very good at a product innovation, but it's also an opportunity for us to do process innovation. And that's where I think it's not only that we will have a 2 nanometer or a 3 nanometer or the cutting edge technology, but there's an opportunity to do compound semiconductor, right? How do we do the power management devices better? How do we do the RF devices better? And those things are not that expensive. So I think as we are growing, as Yogesh rightly said, that we need to kind of plant all the possible seeds so that we can get dividends from all angles, right? So I think just to sum up what you mentioned.
With that, we'll conclude the question and answer session. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for taking the time of joining us out here and sharing with us your thoughts and expert opinions on our semiconductor and India being a leader in taking the revolution forward. Requesting you to kindly stay back on stage as we have a token of appreciation to hand over to you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and let's give it up for our expert panelists present on stage today for Invest Karnataka 2025, sharing with us their thoughts and their expertise. It was a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to have you join us today. Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting with our next session in the next 5 minutes. Kindly remain seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, requesting you to kindly settle down as we are ready to begin with our next session. Ladies and gentlemen, once again requesting you all to kindly take your seats as we are ready to begin with our next session this afternoon. I trust you all are looking forward to our next session after that brilliant first session. Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is rather a country session that focuses on UK and Karnataka partners in economic growth. Allow me the opportunity to welcome on stage our panelists. We have Mr. Murali Subramaniam, MD and Group Head, Data Analytics Operations, LSEG. With a round of applause, please join me in welcoming our panelists on stage. Accompanying Mr. Murali, we have Mr. Jaykumar Doshi, MD and CIO, BT. Mr. Andrew Cole, MD, Micron Clean. Mr. James Glavy, COO, Tesco. Ms. Joanne Concannon, Director, External Relations, University of York. And moderating this session, we have Mr. K.T. Rajan, British Deputy High Commissioner, Bangalore. Panelists, I want to take this opportunity and thank you for taking the time, gracing the occasion with your presence. Looking forward to your inputs and thoughts in this regard. Mr. Rajan, I'll leave it to you to take this session forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please sit down. Good afternoon, everybody. Small clarification. I'm not the Deputy High Commissioner. We have the Deputy High Commissioner here, Chandru Iyer, who will be speaking to us and delivering some opening remarks. My name is K.T. Rajan. I am the Cluster Head for Technology, Innovation, Education and Skills as a part of the Department for Business and Trade. So here I am today moderating this session. If you look at UK, I think UK has emerged as a global hub for innovation, nurturing a vibrant ecosystem of established corporate giants. You have a few of them here, British Telecom, Tesco and others, and globally acclaimed academic and research institutions. We have University of York here representing that, and dynamic startups. I wouldn't call Micron Clean a dynamic startup, but as far as India is concerned, I think they were part of the dynamic startup. So you have a flavor of large companies, you have a flavor of medium-sized and small-scale companies, you have the education bit, so we're going to have an enlightened panel here. If you look at UK, why is UK the prime choice for business leaders? One of the key things is that UK has a very diverse, multi-sectoral economy, focusing on growth and innovation. On the academic side, if you look at among the top 10 globally acclaimed institutions, 4 of them are in the UK. And it's no surprise that among the G7, UK is ranked as #1 in terms of research and the impact in terms of research being commercialized. If you look at among the G20 countries, UK is ranked #2 in terms of ease of doing business. And the business environment is pretty strong and there's a lot of governmental support. And of course, there's a very highly qualified and mobile workforce which supports the UK economy. Incidentally, the population is more or less similar to Karnataka, but UK is the 6th largest economy in the world today. And to culminate all this, the UK is the cultural hub and has a global influence on building brands and businesses. So these are kind of some of the factors I could think of in terms of why business leaders prefer UK. On the other hand, when you look at Karnataka, Karnataka is home for more than about 400 of the top 500 Fortune 500 companies. Bangalore is, of course, the startup capital, which all of us know, and over 1/3 of the unicorns in the country have their origin from Bangalore. Karnataka contributes to about 42% of the software exports and about 33% of India's bioeconomy. So both in terms of IT and BT, Karnataka ranks among the top in the country. And in the recent survey by Oxford Economics, Bangalore was ranked as the fastest growing city in the world, not just now, for the next 10 years. So that's the kind of impetus that we have in Bangalore. So when you look at this kind of statistics in the UK and in Karnataka, Bangalore, then the two are natural allies. And that's where we thought we will give you a sneak preview of UK and Karnataka partners in economic growth. To kickstart our session today, we are really privileged to have the Honorable Deputy High Commissioner, Karnataka and Kerala, Mr. Chandru Iyer, giving us a few opening remarks. Welcome, Chandru.
Thank you, Katie, and good afternoon and namaskara ellorke, as we say in Nama Bengaluru. So it's great to see you all here this afternoon for what's going to be a really, really insightful and enriching panel. And I'm looking forward to hearing panel share their thoughts as well on why Karnataka. And so it should be a really interesting session. But before we have that, I'll just spend a few minutes to just share with you the broader UK-India story and in terms of what's been happening so far and what's the future looking like for all of us. So the UK-India trade and investment story is an amazing story. It's a story that's worth 42 billion pounds and we have the aspirations to take that story to the next level. The two prime ministers of the two countries met at the sidelines of G20 in Brazil last year, and they agreed on looking to refresh our strategic partnership and take that relationship to the next level. So trade and investment is an integral part of that partnership growth story. And it's great to see that businesses, which are some of them are on the panel, and a lot of Indian businesses who are investors in the UK are enablers of that growth story. So I'm really, really honored and privileged to be here to kickstart this panel discussion. At the outset, I would like to thank the State Government of Karnataka, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah-ji, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumarji, and our Industries Minister M.B. Patil and his team for their unflinching support in ensuring that British companies have a smooth sailing journey in this wonderful state that is called Karnataka. And when we were looking to, decide on what should we name this panel discussion, we could not think of any other word than say that UK and Karnataka are partners in economic growth of each other. And that is so very apt. And I would say that over the last 2 years of my stay in this city and this state, more than partnership, it's a friendship. There's a friendship between the UK and Karnataka that has ensured that the relationship is strong and augurs well for the future. And there are some facts and figures to substantiate that. So there's a report that comes out every year which talks about British investments in India, comes out through Grant Thornton and CII. So the report that was launched last year said that there are close to 700 British companies in India doing exceptionally well, creating lots of jobs and supporting economic growth. And out of that, it's really, really good to hear that Karnataka is the third largest destination for British companies. So thanks to companies like yours who are on the panel here, who are contributing towards that story. But interesting fact out of that is that the number of British companies has gone up in the state, and number of companies who are growing at a rate of more than 10% has also gone up. So that's very positive. And they are supporting jobs, almost 35,000 jobs in this state, which is a really, really big number. And that's a testament to the fact that, Karnataka as a state is so very well known for skill availability, wonderful universities and engineering colleges, which ensures that organizations like Tesco, BT and LSEG have a steady stream of resources available for them. So we talk about employment, we talk about, of course, great weather in this city as well, which is another plus point. But more importantly, I think it's the ease of doing business. The state government is extremely supportive in ensuring that the business climate is friendly and amenable for foreign companies to do business here. So, the numbers speak for itself. I can talk about, the jobs being created, as I said, the revenues that all these businesses are having, and it's no longer a cost arbitrage story, as some of the panelists may talk about later. It's about, a lot of these businesses are contributing to the bottom line of their parent companies back home. So that is, again, a testament to the fact that it is no longer an outsourcing story. It's a story of adding gross value to the larger business groups back home in the UK. So yeah, we are extremely proud to be part of this story here today in terms of positioning Karnataka up front as the investment destination for foreign companies. I accompanied Minister M.B. Patil to the UK in December. We had a roadshow which was extremely very well received. And it's great to have on the panel Joanne from University of York. And the education story is a really good story as well. So we have, as Katie mentioned, the University of Liverpool has tied up an MOU with the State Government of Karnataka, and some really good announcements could be in the offing in the future. But that's just one example. We'd love to hear a bit more from University of York about their aspirations and ambitions for this state. But this is just the beginning. We do expect that more such examples of academic story comes through for us from the UK into Karnataka. And while we are here talking about trade and investment, it will be not fair on my part to not talk about a very large event that is happening a few kilometers from here called Aero India. So we had a very successful couple of days of Aero India for us as the United Kingdom. We had our Ministry of State for Defense, Lord Coker, with us. He just flown back to the UK, and he has had a very successful, productive, and he's gone back very happy, a productive trip for him. Again, aerospace, space, defense are again sectors wherein Karnataka has a lot of potential for us. A lot of our big boys are already here in this state, the likes of Rolls-Royce and others. But we do expect more British companies in this sector to call Bangalore and Karnataka their home very soon. And I keep talking about Bangalore, but I'm also a big proponent of beyond Bangalore. So we are also doing our bit as the UK government to ensure that investments can be spread across the state. So we do regular outreaches to Bangalore on one side, Mysore, Hubli, Dharwad. We expect that a lot of our British companies explore opportunities not just in Bangalore, which is a great city, Namma Bengaluru, but also beyond the capital. So it's a very positive story. We as the United Kingdom are extremely proud to have Karnataka as our partners in economic growth of each other's region, and long it may continue. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing from this wonderful panel on their thoughts about why Karnataka. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandru. As Chandru said, I think maybe we should change the title instead of Partners in Economic Growth, Friends in Economic Growth. But then let's see how we are friends and how we have been working together. I understand the Commissioner of Commerce and Industry, Madam Gunjan Krishna, is joining us. Is she on the way? Yeah, okay. So I think we'll carry on with the panel, and if she comes in, I think we can join in. I thought what we could do as a team is introduce yourself and then the organization that you represent and links about what you do in India specifically, and then in Karnataka, your operations and the kind of establishment that you have here, just to kick off the discussions. Over to you, Joanne.
Well, hello, everybody, and it's a real pleasure and honor to be here. And can you all hear me? So I'm Director of External Relations at the University of York, which is a member of the Russell Group, group of universities. By that, largely, you could say we are research-intensive universities. I won't go into a huge detailed explanation because it's all on our website, but I would distill it as saying that the importance of our research is vital, but so is our teaching and our students. And the best way to evidence that is a Venn diagram that I'm extremely fond of, which goes as follows, that we are ranked in the Research Excellence Framework in the UK in the top 10, and we are also a gold for teaching excellence. We are one of only 4 universities to have that dual accolade. So it is York and 3 others you may possibly have heard of, Oxford, Cambridge and Imperial, but we won't talk about them. So I'm really interested to be here to learn more about Karnataka. We have a very, very keen interest in India. We've been welcoming Indian students for a number of years, but we're also really interested in not just what we are good at, but what we're good for. And in that respect, I'm really interested in thinking about the ways our research, our teaching and our skills agenda map on extremely well to the state's priorities, particularly around sustainable economic growth. And I can talk some more about that, but I'll hand over now to my next colleague.
Over to James.
Phil, thank you so much. And likewise, a pleasure to be here with you all today. So James Glavey, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Tesco Business Solutions as part of the wider Tesco Group. For those of you that don't know Tesco, we are the UK's leading food retailer. So 4,500 stores across the UK. We employ about 300,000 employees globally. And outside of our primary UK market, we also have stores in the Republic of Ireland and in Central Europe as well. There's also other subsidiary businesses. So we have a mobile business, we have a food wholesale business, and we have a data science business, Dunnhumby, as well. To your question around our presence in Bangalore and in India, so the part of the organisation I work for, Business Solutions for Tesco, we have about 5,000 people in our campus in Bangalore, split pretty much 50-50 between technology roles and business roles, and is very much seen as an extension to our UK head office. So some traditional roles that you would expect around finance, people, HR services, but also from some very specialist capabilities as well around property, product, enterprise analytics, data science, and legal and such. Outside of that direct work that happens in Bangalore, across wider India, we also have 600 people based in Gurgaon for our Dunnhumby organisation, and we have a joint partnership with Tata for the Star retail stores that you may know. So that's about close to 70 retail stores predominantly in the south of India. So that's an overview of where, and I'll hand over to Andrew.
Yeah. Thanks, James. I think one of the interesting things is the Tesco Business Solutions also won the Global Award, Business Excellence Award.
Absolutely.
As the number 1 among the top 5 companies globally, and there was one UK company, and that UK company won the Business Award. So
I was trying to be a little modest, but thank you for flagging it. So yeah, we were voted the world's best GBS a couple of years ago, and we were the runner-up last year. We've submitted our entry for this year, and we fingers crossed that we can take our crown again. But yeah, very proud.
All the very best. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Katie. So I'm Andrew Cole. I'm Managing Director of Micron Clean India, and I've had the privilege, really, of living in Bangalore for the last 7 years. So it's my home, my family home, and I've really enjoyed that. So as part of the setup, Micron Clean India, in the UK, it's the leading specialized clean room services laundry provider. So we are the largest of that particular sector. It's quite a niche area of business, but we provide into very specialized industries. The clean room laundry service is critical. So if you're making pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, or any critical components, you need to have a very clean working environment, and we can help protect the working environment by clothing your operators to make sure it's extremely clean. So in effect, I make my living from cleaning scientists' underwear, which is something that I can be proud of saying because it's a very critical part of the process. In terms of the UK business, it's a family-owned business. We've been operating as a laundry service since 1880. So we have a real vast array of experience within our business. The family is now 3 generations old that have owned Micron Clean. And we started utilizing clean room technology back in the 80s. We were the first company in the UK to operate that service, and that's why we've grown so successfully. Obviously, UK is a very small island, and once you've got quite a large segment of that business, you have to explore elsewhere. So as part of that, we explored parts of the world that hadn't been developed with clean room laundry services, and we found that India was absolutely potential for us to grow our business and provide an extremely professional outsourced service to the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries. And as we all know, India is one of the greatest exporters of pharmaceutical and biotech products around the world. So under that challenge, which is amazing, they have quite high regulatory inspections from the US FDA, from the MHRA, and various other regulatory authorities. And they were really looking for improvements in some of the services that were being carried out. And Micron Clean were able to see that as an opportunity and have established our facility just outside of Bangalore. And many of the people, Chandru in fact has been to the facility and seen what we operate like. So effectively we are very much like a pharmaceutical producer, but we are washing and cleaning and providing very clean, sterile services of garments, protective garments, back to the industry. So Bangalore is our home, but we have extended beyond Bangalore with our services, and we provide a daily service out to much of the region, but also our latest client in Vizag. So you can imagine to get clients that are across India like that, the logistics have to be absolutely perfect. I know my colleague here, their logistics is amazing. We've had to adopt similar principles to make sure we create a seamless service. So that's a small overview. I'll pass over to Jay.
I think from the cleaning business, let's go to the communication business. On to BT.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Andrew. And Ellarigu Namaskara. I am the MD and CIO corporate for BT Group. BT Group, as most of you would know, was there at the dawn of the communication technology that started. With 175 plus years of legacy, we have witnessed every shift that has happened in the telecom technology over the years and to see. We are a leading telecom provider in our home country, UK, and we are really proud of what we do also from a national importance perspective in the UK. I am hoping that some of you on the panel highly likely are also a BT customer. If you have a complaint, don't say it publicly. I'm sure there is no chance of that, but BT has been in India for more than 3 decades. As a company, we always believed that we will go where the talent is. And BT in Bengaluru started 2 decades back. Overall, in the country, we have 15,000 colleagues that work directly for BT. And there'll be additional partners of equal size that support our customers working for their respective partner organization. So we have a significantly large presence, and our focus really from a BT group perspective is how do we leverage the talent that is available here and match with the opportunity to improve and deliver a fantastic customer experience, which I'm sure is the same with, James, with you in Tesco, and for sure in what you will say, Murli, as well. For us at BT Group, it has been a journey of evolution from starting with doing software engineering in India and then moving into various different functions that lead to business processes, customer support, but also into the back office's operation as well. We have 3 primary locations, Gurugram, Kolkata, and Bengaluru. Across these 3 locations, these 15,000 colleagues are located. Specifically coming to Bengaluru and Karnataka, this is, after the UK, the largest technology talent for BT Group. Roughly around 2,500, 3,000 of talent and colleagues work in BT Group across the 4 brands that we operate in the UK and globally. Our focus here has been really driving innovation and transformation from here so that we can learn from what's happening in the industry here and contextualize it for what's happening back in the UK. And it's just, as Chandru spoke about, the cultural alignment. We speak the same language. And that whole integration of the culture, the language, and I would also say the 4.5 hour or 5.5 hour of time gap really fosters that collaboration across the 2 locations, which is what we make the best use of. So, overall, BT Group with 175 plus years of legacy and a great talent here is really transforming and taking the customer experience and the service to the next height, but really deploying data, AI, and the technology to change that experience as well. With that, I'll hand over to you, Murli.
Thank you. My name is Murali. I work for the group called LSEG. LSEG derives its name from London Stock Exchange. In the stock exchange, we do about 450 million transactions a day. The market cap of companies listed in the exchange is over $5 trillion. Compares to the size of the GDP of our country. But it's the smallest of our businesses. The index business enables people to invest based on these indices, and the amount of wealth that tracks the indices is over $20 trillion, bigger than the GDP of the United States. My division, which is data and analytics, we publish 500,000 economic indicators every single day that enables people to take financial decisions around the world. We extract information from 31 million sources of documents and publish them so that people can take economic decisions. Governments, institutions, traders, Anybody who wants to take an economic indicator can come to us and look at our data, and they can take a decision. As regards to Bangalore, a fourth of our group's workforce works from this city. We enable the LSEC group from Bangalore. It's very difficult for us to continue to do the business the way we do without Bangalore. Karnataka is absolutely necessary and integral part of what we do. So that's us. Thank you.
Thanks, Murli. I think we've got a good cross-section. We've got manufacturing, we've got retail, we've got infrastructure, and we have the money man, and of course the education bit. So I thought what we could do is, in the interest of time, cover a few kind of aspects. One we could look at, I'm sure each of you had an opportunity to look at India, and then in India, multiple states and multiple locations. It might be well before your time, because Tesco is, I think, more than 2 decades old, BT is more than 2 decades old. But if you broadly look at the current scenario in country, what kind of ticks for you in Karnataka, and why Karnataka? You want to start with Andrew?
So we actually looked at many locations before we settled on Bangalore and Karnataka. And because we're interested in working with the pharmaceutical and biotechnology sector, we certainly recognized that this was a clear leader for biotechnology, and it gave a real good infrastructure option for us. We looked at land parcels around Karnataka, and in particular in Bangalore, and what we felt was that we worked with the KIDB Development Board, and we felt that they had the right support for us to purchase land that then enabled us to build a facility in Bangalore that had a guarantee of land rights and all of the infrastructure provided to it. And that was really critical for us as a company coming from the outside, and our first investment in India had to be spot on. So we needed all of the support that we could. And I think that infrastructure, the clearance systems for approvals, that went quite smoothly. I think there were 1 or 2 hurdles within that journey, and unfortunately, we chose the land that we wanted, and then we were told 2 weeks later, after it being approved, that unfortunately we couldn't have that land. It was promised elsewhere. So there are certain hurdles and bureaucracy that we had to face. However, we overlooked that. We then moved on, and we found the parcel of land, and then we found really good contractors. The support partly was from a British project management company that had a large operation in Bangalore as well, and that really gave us the confidence. We'd got good contacts within the government departments, and that really enabled us to make things happen. And obviously the support as well that came along with that from the High Commission team, that really, if you had a query and you couldn't find an answer, they were the go-to team to say, can you help? And normally they would be able to do that. So that infrastructure was very important for us without that presence in India, and it helped us to then have a much smoother integration into the operations.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. I think as High Commission, what we try and do is work with the local government. I think as the Deputy High Commission based in Bangalore, it's been an excellent relationship for us through the Karnataka government. And anywhere where we can at least open doors, we try and see how we can do that. Then it's, of course, up to the company. I think, Jay, you had a point.
Yeah, I think I just want to take a perspective of what was it 20 years back and what's today. From so 20 years back, when choices were being made, you had few but really significant institutions that were making great engineering talent available. We also had a large setup of national organizations that were working on the technology. like the whole defense DRDO organization, that formed a backbone of some of the initial organizations that started in the technology. So there was an ecosystem of academia, though limited in size at that point of time, but it did meet the requirement of the talent. In addition to, of course, I'm giving away my age, but in those days, Bangalore was known for its pubs as well, which was probably something not other cities were so popular. Things have changed in the last 20 years. But what you have seen today, and if you are making a choice today about a location, as Chandru mentioned, Bangalore is the startup capital of the country, probably the largest after US, Israel, UK. It's probably the largest, fourth, fifth largest. What you've also seen is this ecosystem is leveraged by the large players like Amazon, AWS, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA. So you talk about the ecosystem in which we operate, not just them, but there are smaller players that we work with as well who are driving some of the innovation in the niche space. They also have an operation here. So when you put that together, along with academia, you have the innovative players, and then the whole SI ecosystem, be it Indian or the foreign origin. So Infosys, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, TCS, Accenture, Capgemini, they also have a significant presence. So basically, everything that you need to make a success for the company is within the 10-mile radius from where you are. And I think this ecosystem's uniqueness really presents a great opportunity. Of course, there are challenges as well, and specifically the 10 miles sounds really positive. I think when we convert that 10 miles into terms of the travel time, I think we got to solve that problem a little bit. But other than that, I think it's a fantastic ecosystem, and the collaboration that used to happen between India and the headquarters has now become horizontal, basically. So I think it's a great ecosystem of academia, industry, startups, and the SI.
Thanks, Jay. I think from a Tesco's perspective, if you look at, you've got a large campus and you run a lot of operations from here. And I understand there's this fair bit of expansion that's going to come through over the next few years. So how do you see the local infrastructure supporting your operations, and any challenges that you face that we could share with the government here?
Okay, no, great question. So similar to Jay and BT scenario, and I think you referenced, we've also been here in Karnataka for 21 years. So one of those first companies that I guess established a capability. I think one of the things, in answer to your previous question, that has kept us here and keeps us interested is just the wealth of talent that we have available. So I touched on some of those specialist kind of capabilities that we deliver from here, and whether it be needing architects, UK OFA lawyers, data scientists, we have the skill set and the capability here, and we can fulfill that. I think we have, I think I'm correct in saying that we've got 4 of the top 40 data scientists in India working for us in Karnataka. So just that wealth of knowledge and expertise and capability on the doorstep here is so important. And you're right in terms of our ambitions to grow as well. So we are part way through a planning application to expand our existing campus that we have. One of the things that's really positive about working here is the support that we've had from KUM on guiding us through that process and letting us know what that needs to look like and how we go through that. Similar challenges to Jay's flagging around some of the infrastructure, but lots and positive things and support to help us to grow and meet our ambitions here.
I think that's a nice segue into talent, what I was thinking as in kind of key. Talent can be either a boon or a bane in many cases. while we have a lot of engineering colleges, a lot of institutions, etc., and a whole lot of engineers and other professionals, STEM professionals, and other professionals passing out of those institutions. But then employability becomes a problem in terms of how employable they are, how ready for the industry they are, etc. And I think, Murli, what better example than you in terms of services? How do you find the talent? And I think we were also having a discussion about the leadership talent not being up to the mark, in your opinion. But not to steal the thunder, how do you see the overall talent situation in Karnataka? How is it helping your businesses? And what are the areas that we could look at and support as UK corporate in developing that and growing better?
So I'll try to answer that question by giving an example of something that I recently observed. Bangalore, there is a specific pickle called toku. It's made out of mango. If you ask a normal person, how would you make a mango pickle? They would say, take 2 kilograms of mango, take 2 tablespoons of red chili, and follow the recipe, and you'll get something out. But Karnataka has got 200 varieties of mangoes. And when you ask a Bangalorean, how do you make mango pickle, they completely do it differently than how I told you. What they do is, they say, take 2 kilograms of mangoes, taste it. Based on the sourness, add the amount of chili powder. And I saw this in action in my office. We were extracting some content from some document.
Databases.
A conventional programmer would write an algorithm and have a very specific way of extracting that content. But this young man did something remarkable. He wrote a base prompt, and the base prompt generated another prompt based on what the first observations were. A true recipe being constructed instead of following a pre-thought out algorithm. I think this is only possible when you're exposed and when you think differently and when you understand the nuances of life very differently. A normal programmer would have written an algorithm in a certain way. A Bangalorean, based on the experience that they have, write it and approach the problem very differently. The problem that I have is, are we conscious of the diversity and the thinking that Bangalore brings in? Are we exploiting it in our business? Are we creating products and solutions of what Karnataka and Bangalore has to offer? That, I think, is the job of the leadership. And I think we in leadership can do better. The talent is there, the depth is there, the thinking is there, the ability is there. It's up to the leadership to enable it and let it bloom. And that's the problem that I'm trying to grapple with. Not the talent problem, but the leadership problem. How to make eclectic leaders, how to enable and embrace what Karnataka and Bangalore has to offer. And it has a lot to offer. Hopefully that answers partly your question.
Thanks, Murli. I think the mango example was a great one in terms of thinking out of the box and then understanding what's available and how you can bet best. Well, we have 4 organizations who are already established in Karnataka and doing well and growing. We do have the University of York looking at Karnataka as a kind of prospect, if you will. And I think this is the right segue, Johan, for you to come in terms of how you're developing the thinking out of the box kind of a mindset in people and making them more productive than what they could usually be. And there have been quite a few cases. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Thank you. I would say that the University of York's got a 62-year history of trying to think out of the box. We were founded by what can only be described as a bunch of renegade academics from Oxford and Cambridge who wanted to bring academic rigor into a very new kind of learning environment. And I will use a phrase that even in 1963, in a much less globalized United Kingdom, the phrase of what the aspiration for our students were, that they should be citizens of the world who cared not just about what they were learning, but what they were going to do with the learning. And I think that still infuses the way that we think about our learning environment. I think now the escalation of artificial intelligence, global conflict, the lack of empathy that we see in so many parts of the public discourse, has led us to think again about what is the learning environment that we can provide our students that really thinks not just about what happens inside the classroom, but what happens as part of their wider learning experience. And part of that is ensuring that all of our students have a global mindset, that they think very carefully about understanding diversity of opinion. So going back to what you were saying, that diversity of talent and how to foster it. So in a UK environment, we very much practice a kind of principle of going where hard to reach audiences are. So we have a long-standing history of attracting students from the kind of backgrounds who have not traditionally ever thought about university as an aspiration that they had a right to. I think in the context of skills, and it's really interesting that the reimagining growth, I think we're also at a point where we need to reimagine what we think we mean by skills from the point of view of not just instrumental technical skills, but the graduates that we are sending out into the world who can be flexible and adaptable, who are good communicators, who are able to respond to the challenges and the opportunities of technology in a really constructive way. So where that leads us to thinking out of the box in terms of the sheer nature of higher education and the structure and the utility of a degree as merely the start of a journey, thinking about lifelong learning. If you think about the scale of job obsolescence and job changes and the lack of the huge employer demand around green skills, about the ability to respond to technology, it behoves universities to think very differently, therefore, about the structure of the learning that we're offering. So one of the things that we are embarking on is really mobilizing our existing alumni community. We have 160,000 alumni in 180 countries. So we've just recently launched an interactive digital platform to enable them to communicate and engage with each other, to think about the ways that they can learn, but also in a lifelong learning context, what are the post-degree structures that we need to put in place, working with much shorter lines of communication with all of you, because what you need now is not necessarily what you're going to need in 5 years' time. And so the education system itself, and we very much are in the vanguard of thinking about this in the UK, needs to change and to be much more adaptable and flexible. We tell our students they have to be adaptable, so must universities. So then Karnataka is really interesting from the point of view of the sheer scale of ambition. The dynamism of the place is just extraordinary from the minute you get off the plane. This is my second visit here, and I can't wait to come back already. But it's also about, for York, the very strong interrelationship we have between teaching and research. So one of the reasons that we're super interested in Karnataka is the expertise that we have in biotechnology and the bioeconomy. So that scale of the need to move away from fossil fuel extraction to produce the chemicals that Andrew is using to give my scientists, I hate to say this, clean underwear. I'm suddenly very interested. But also the talent of how we think about the bio-based materials mapping onto the kind of major challenges around clean water. We're a huge expert in anaerobic digestion. And what's interesting about Karnataka is the UK is relatively small, so we are moving at scale to develop a large-scale testing facility to use anaerobic digestion as one example to deliver clean water more efficiently. But the scale of what you could do in India to work with Indian partners where we can be all more than the sum of our parts, to use some of our science, which there are only a handful of science groups in the world doing this kind of work, to think about the scale of difference that you could make in the context of a really big problem in terms of solid waste and the valorization of that and the circular economy that goes alongside it, we think is a huge opportunity. And so those are the kinds of things that we're interested in. But it is about expanding the frontiers of how we think about education, and most importantly, not just sitting in our campuses thinking great thoughts just for the sake of them, but how are we going to apply them to leave the world in a better place than we found it.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think that leads us into, if you look at the current media, I think there's been a lot of discussions about work-life balance, and with some very senior corporate leaders making some comments in terms of how much time you spend in the office, how much time you spend at home. I think culture becomes an important aspect, especially when you have multinational companies, multinational executives operating in different countries. In your experience, how have you found UK professionals coming in and operating in India? Any kind of positives, negatives that you see? And many of you are expats here in the country, including Chandru. So how do you see the culture here, and is it supporting? And
so my role's based over in Welland, but through the role I spend probably, over the last 6 weeks I've been here for 5, so a fair amount of the time based over in Bangalore. And in my previous organisation, I actually worked for BT for 20 years before I joined Tesco. So I've had, since 2007, split in my time between the UK and various parts of India. And it's been a fantastic experience for me. I think the wealth of the culture that you have here, the kind of openness and welcome that you receive, and all of the support that goes around it has been super, super positive. And particularly in Tesco, I'm seeing a huge amount of travel between the two as well. So it isn't just the UK colleagues moving over here and spending time either through expat contracts or through business. But because of the talent and the seniority of roles, and me and Jay were talking about this before the session, as the leadership capability and the reliance on that talent that's here at the very top of our UK-based organisations, we're seeing more and more of our originally India-based teams spending time in the UK and influencing the culture there as well. So very positive, very welcoming, and yeah, a very positive experience.
Wonderful, James. Any comments from BT, LSEG? What do you?
I have a theory which is slightly interesting. So I always say that you should try to work for companies which are headquartered in East. You can start the day early and finish the day early. But unfortunately for most of us, the headquarters is in the West.
Other side.
So you end up with long days. But it's interesting. It's when I look out, I see many people not so fortunate. We have a job. We have an ability to influence nations, companies, individuals. So I think that we should take our jobs very seriously. That's a simple answer to work-life balance. And I think that a busy man or a person can find time for everything.
Yeah, thanks, Murli. Any comments from your side, Vit? Okay.
I think they've covered it. Both of them have really covered it. I think
wonderful.
All I can say is, having worked with the US companies in the past, as I said at the start, the 4 and 5 hours gap with the proper collaboration and an expectation management on both sides does work very well from a UK perspective. So I think that way. But again, I know this is a debate going on in India massively around work-life balance. I think there are different numbers being thrown out. Not going to get into that, but my personal view is it's a personal choice you make, and you do what you love to do, basically. So I think it's very personal, and I think there's no one-size-fits-all answer to the work-life balance. That's my perspective. But as he said, I also buy into his theory that I would prefer to get up early in the morning and do a call at 6 a.m. than be on a call at 8 p.m.
Thanks, Jay. One another aspect that normally comes to mind is as UK corporations and as UK government in any part of the world that we operate, we try and see how we can integrate ourselves with the local community. It's not just bringing investment in terms of money or creating jobs at the local site, but making sure that you are able to integrate with the local community, contribute, develop, and see how you can grow as an organization and also as a community in that premise. Yeah. In that context, I would like to hear some examples of what BT has done, for example, and what Tesco has done, and others, if you can add in.
I think each one of us will have a story to share around this one for sure. As you rightly say, it links really into our, I would say, we are not just in a community, but we are part of the community. And that's at the core of one of our employee value proposition for our colleagues. in terms of being able to give back to the society. What we have really done is we have tied up with British Asian Trust in terms of channelizing all our activities around giving back. What we also call it CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility in India. Our focus really has been around underprivileged, science and technology, a girl child, some of the things that we are really doing that really touches each one of us are working with charities or NGOs like Mentor Together, going to school, Katha up north. These are focused around really, really bright students who do not have the same opportunity like a student studying engineering in Bengaluru. They are 500 kilometers away from Bengaluru. They're going through the same course content, but they don't get that platform to really express and demonstrate their ability. So we do a significant part, and in all of this, we involve our colleagues. So our colleagues become their mentor, help them with their interview preparation, help them with their resumes, do everything. The whole intent is they are their buddies, sounding board. And it's so fulfilling when we really even get one of those to get a job, because what we are doing then is we're not getting one person, helping get one person a job, but we are uplifting the life of a family and the generations to come. So it's really, really so important and integral for what we do here in India. And I think over the last decade or so, we must have impacted 1 million lives in this country.
Thanks for sharing that, Jay. I think quite encouraging. How about Tesco?
So I guess if I start with Tesco's purpose is around serving our customers, our communities, and our planet a little better every day. And we absolutely live that purpose here in Karnataka. So I guess to mention a couple other things. So firstly, around our contribution to environment. So you mentioned our campus. We have 100% of the energy that we use in the campus is through solar energy, so renewable. We recycle 100% of the water that we use on the campus, and we actually have water treatment facilities on site. And likewise with our food waste, so we convert 100% of that food waste to biogas and donate that. So there's lots of things around environment that we do. We also have a zero policy on plastics for our food and drinks, so huge contributions there. The second piece around what we can do to help the local area in agriculture. So as a food retailer, it's something we're passionate about. So over the last 3 years, we've worked with over 5,000 farming families to provide education and training about evolutions in farming principles and practice, and how technology can help, and education around retaining and maximizing water usage. And through that, we've helped those families to achieve circa 50% improvement in the yield of their crops, so making a difference there to the income of those families. And then finally on education as well. So we partner with an organisation called Magic Bus of India Partnership, and particularly focus on disadvantaged children from families, providing education and support. So I think it's about 1,800 children over the last 3 years that we've worked with to provide customer service training, learning about customer centricity, communication, about digital skills and technologies. And then we help many of those children in their careers. And in particular, I referenced about our joint partnership with Tata, with the Star supermarkets. So we help lots of those children then. I say children, typically 18 to 25-year-olds, so not quite children, young adults, to then move into a career into retail. And we also sponsor some exceptional talents as well. So around 200 individuals where we have provided scholarships to pursue further education in engineering and in technology, and also provide mentoring for those individuals as well, and particularly again target communities and individuals that may not have had that opportunity otherwise. So I think 70% of those young adults have come again from agricultural family backgrounds where they maybe wouldn't have had that opportunity had we have not supported. So lots that we do there to contribute and hopefully help the community that we operate in.
Awesome, James. I think as Chief Operating Officer and with the kind of work you have been doing in the community, you're not far off from contesting the next election maybe under the discourse. Joanne, I think you had a comment.
I did. I'm really passionate about this part of my work, which is demonstrating the importance and accessibility of education to audiences. So I'll give you 3 quick examples that if we were to do anything in India, we would imagine mimicking and mirroring. The first of which is our students themselves. It's a really great skills addition to them in any case, but we have shoals of students who go out and assist in schools. We have students who are running sustainability projects with small and medium-sized businesses in the local area, helping them to think about their own carbon footprint and to think about that from a really practical point of view and the skills that they get. And then every year we do a large scale, we set up the York Festival of Ideas 13 years ago, just to the point where tuition fees were becoming incredibly expensive in the UK as a means of demystifying universities. And every year we run about 250 free events. The important bit for me is that A, they're free, but B, we work with about 150 program partners that range from small community organizations to really large scale organizations like financial services and charities and so forth. The important bit about that is it's not branded as the university. So you get a very different kind of audience coming in, engaging in what we're doing, and frankly we program by stealth because we use people off the telly and selling books alongside academics. And it is about harnessing the power of other people's audiences to tell a story about why universities are relevant. And I think that trust in universities is being eroded, and we need to be doing things that actually take our story to where audiences are who may have some distrust and may have views about higher education being an alien thing that they don't really understand and they don't really think it's for them. And I think it's up to us to have the responsibility to go out and tell a different story. So working alongside, and I think the opportunities to do things in India, to take that kind of approach as well, to work with local partners is something that we would see as a big part of our agenda.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think it's a great example of not just educating people, but grooming them to be good human beings and ensuring that they're part of the community. Andrew, you had a comment, in spite of not being a large organization, if you will, I think you're doing things in your own way, and every coin counts here. So
Absolutely. So we've probably got the smallest workforce out of anyone. We employ about 80 people currently, which will set to grow over the next 18 months. However, what I am impressed about is the dedication. We want people that are not necessarily, they haven't been in our industry. So we've got to take somebody with the right passion and get them engaged into our business so that they really do create an excellent service model for how we deliver to our clients. And I'm amazed at the amount of, we've got really good retention, which is amazing. And when you consider that people travel for hours to get to our facility, just to work a normal working day, that really does infuse me. And I really am amazed by the passion that people have. Now, hopefully, we can capture all of that and give a customer excellence back beyond the expectations of what they think they're going to get. We always aim for higher and higher. And it's only by having engaged team members. And so far, we've really been successful in that. And hopefully, I create a family environment that they are engaged in that. It's all about those team members. It can't be me. It's got to be them. that are supporting the whole business and the way that we grow. So that's been an exceptional experience that I've found.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Quickly, Murli, you have any comment on what LSEG is doing?
In India, there is both in north and south, there's some remarkable things that people say. You know, when you give with your right hand, your left hand should not know about it. It's a remarkable thing that, but societies at large, you know, evolutions are based on certain principles. What makes us human is compassion. Societies and countries have ways to propagate compassion. In the United States, for example, the inheritance laws are so complicated and so punitive that people form trusts, and these trusts are means to do great work in society. In India, the government has come up with this 2% CSR thing, which is making us do certain good things certain ways. Every society finds its own ways to take care of downtrodden and people who need help, and so has India done remarkably well by way of this 2% CSR thing. There's more to do, and every one of us are doing our bit. London Stock Exchange, not only through the 2% CSR, but also through the global foundation that we have, do a large number of things in Bangalore. We have adopted a lake recently. In addition to that, there's a number of other activities that people are very passionately involved, and there is also money coming into these initiatives.
Yeah. Thanks, Murli. I think time's up and we're almost there. Going by the theme of the conference, reimagining growth, I think one thing comes through very clearly, that education, like what's at the university level, growing into employability, making sure that you are able to employ yourself and get your skills sharpened, and of course moving into entrepreneurship like what Andrew and his team do. I think those are the kind of key tenets that one needs to work on for economic growth. And the UK industry has demonstrated about what they're doing in all the three sectors, whether it is education, employability, or in entrepreneurship. And with Karnataka offering all the kind of support and the government being very forthcoming, I think we see a very positive outlook for the UK-Karnataka relationship and the UK industry trying to establish here and growing economies of not just UK, not just Karnataka, but the entire global outlook. Also, I think we did have a bit of a discussion about community and how we are working. I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we leave this world a better place for our children, and I think the UK corporate are doing a good job on that, and we would continue to do that with the support of Karnataka government. And let's give a good round of applause to our panelists. Thanks for being a wonderful audience. I'm sorry we couldn't take any questions, but hopefully the panelists will be around and you can have one-on-one interactions. Thank you very much.
Can we have yes. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and let's give it up for our esteemed delegates present on stage today. I want to take this opportunity once again and give you my hearty thanks for taking the time of joining us out here and sharing with us your thoughts and inputs. If I could request a lot of you to remain back on stage. Yes, Mr. Iyer, if I could also request you to join us back on stage. We have a token of appreciation from the side of Government of Karnataka, and I would like to hand it over to all of you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and let's give it up for our esteemed delegates present on stage. Thank you so much once again for joining us at Invest Karnataka and talking to us about UK and Karnataka partners in economic growth and friends indeed. Thank you, dignitaries. We now break for lunch. We resume with our final session for today at 3 p.m. We'll see you back in the hall then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.